Okay, welcome. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today because yesterday I noticed that the audio was not strong as it ought to be. So today I'm also recording using my Android microphone and, of course, my handy recording tubes. This is a field recorder and it's strong enough to use where I want. But aside from that, I'm going to talk to you about what the difference is that I've seen so far in the properties that are the London area. So one big thing that we have in Australia is owning property, not as a leasehold, but as a free owning outright. What that means from a property perspective is that you buy it off the previous owner, and the only thing that shows up on your paperwork is practically that the crown, that the British crown, might have the right to excavate underneath your property if they find gold or oil they own under the earth. So it doesn't go to infinity down. However, you're getting enough of a ownership of property in Australia that gives you that certainty, that ability to know that for generations it's under your ownership. How's that different to London? Well, London has a few, and this is really for a lot of the UK, not just London, so pay attention. Leasehold, freehold. A leasehold means that you are the tenants, but you own the tenants. So you would be able to have another tenant living in the house. You lease it out internally as long as your lease allows that. It also means that the bank would actually lend against the property. So if you go to a bank in Australia and you tell them that you're a tenant and that you have a lease on the property, the bank won't lend money against it. That's a UK based, as a London based leasehold. The bank would consider you not as the full owner, not as the freehold owner that owns the leasehold, but as somebody who has a right to the property. And that right is very important because quite often it allows you to do minor renovations. You can't knock down the building, but you could do minor renovations. And if you were to convert something to larger dwelling, to have a deeper dwelling, to dig it into the earth, then seek conditions. But the leases in London, not a 1 year lease or 2 year lease. The biggest I've seen to date, mind you, it's only been in London for 10 days now. So far, I've already seen a lease that's 991 years, almost a 1,000 years. A little bit different? Yes. What they would consider here as a short-term lease is 50 years. 60 years is a short lease. When you renew your lease, you have the option to renew it for a short period of time, for 100 years or 50 years, or for a long period of time, with a maximum of 999 years to renew your lease. So why would you change? Let me put it this way. If you are the owner of a building and you own it under freehold, the bank actually sees that as a threat. It sees you as the freehold owner as the risk taker. So that means that you're responsible for the dwelling being excellent condition, or at least maintaining it in the same condition as when you first had tenants in there. And if something does need to be fixed up, if London or the UK decides to change their laws to now say we need more final exits and real points of egress, that is the responsibility of the freeholder most of the time. So the bank, the lender that does the home loan mortgage, quite often prefers to do the mortgage directly to the leaseholder rather than the freeholder. It's the exact opposite of what you get in Australia. I guess that's why we're the down under and they're the above. But that aside, the property prices I've seen so far are pounds and £5 million. So £5 million Australian dollars today are 10 million Australian dollars, and £500,000 is 1 million Australian dollars. So, I feel this. So from the apples for apples comparison, I need to say this. This is standard dish that think of steak, onion rings, salads. It's going to be the same worldwide. But what I found is that a $20 steak in Australia is a $20 steak in London, however, it's £20. So it's identical price wise. It's just pounds, not Australian dollars. So you have to multiply by two to work out how much you're spending. And so the food actually costs exactly twice the price of the food in Australia, which is fine. But the steak is here, so I'm going to go for a shoot. So here's what I'm going to say. When you're looking apples for apples, you're comparing should I buy in Paris, should I buy in London, should I buy in New York, should I buy in Sydney, should I buy in Brisbane, the Gold Coast. You're going to compare your rental income, your costs, your monthly costs, the cost of being a foreigner and buying overseas to what the return is and what the long-term frame is. The good news about London is because it is such a long term, 900 years, 999 years, 950 years with leasehold, that is a nice long term decision. So you're going to ask me, and I'm going to point you straight to the website rather than quoting. But as a foreigner, how much extra do you pay? Well, maybe 2% extra and another 3% extra on multiple properties. Have a look at just Google, ask about being a multiple land owner, multiple property owner in the UK, because there was additional tax for that, and ask about being a non-resident to see how much on top of the standard stamp duty. But the servicing costs, stamp duty, we have GST in Australia, which is our goods and services tax. We have VAT, about something or other. So paying the VAT tax, paying the GS tax is just a different name of the same thing. So look at the stamp duty, ongoing foreign tax. Think about the other taxes that are taxes on the rich, so to speak. I hope that's been helpful. Really enjoying just going from real estate agency to real estate agency. I'm finding that there's a lot of very intelligent people that have purchased their own properties in multiple countries. And quite often, I find that they have a niece or nephew in Australia. So when I'm talking about Manly Beach or Coogee Beach or Bondi Beach, they actually recognise what I'm talking about. I've had a few people just walking didn't know, so not everybody was back to know. But the real estate agents have a very good idea of the broad economy. They're not just insular to just London. And of course, as you go out to the countryside, opposite of that, but I expect in a major city of London, Sydney, globally aware, not just locally. The biggest talk at the moment here is about the tariffs and the US election, how that is impacting things. And I'm looking forward to the Sydney election, the Australian elections, to see who we end up with and what the ramifications are, whether they will stick to their own budget. But I'm not going to get too political on this. I really just wanted to explain leasehold and freehold. If you're watching so far, if you got through this much, I'm doing the VIP episode for today on why it is so important to phrase your story the right way before you go to a lender. Because sometimes giving too much information means that you're getting. So that's the behind the scenes VIP. If you have a look at my link tree, or if you've got the USB with the password on it, it's the same password as we have yesterday. So we're about to drop today's VIP video into my LinkedIn link. You'll see there's a section that says VIP section. Click on that, type in your password to watch today's video, and yesterday's video will be saved for people within our legacy program. And for everybody else, it's just a new video that drops every day. So every 24 hours. And some of the down dirty, some of the things that have been difficulties in my life, real estate and property specific. So, of course, I'm only going to talk about the end master. Things that are relevant to you so that you can avoid the potholes, so that if you follow the steps that I've made, you don't need to follow the mistakes. So you can learn from my mistakes rather than trying to make mistakes yourselves. Well, that's it for today. I hope this has been great. I'm having fun, and I will see you on the 20th. Speak soon.